usually push the arrow, which one you're paying for, and then you can work. Jeff and I, we had a parking ticket one time down there. We were at the DCNR at the Rachel's big facility. Because that's where you use that parking.
Hello.
Good morning, Mayor. His car going at, like when I added his car in,
Rick, is that you?
but it's still default.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, this is Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
Hello.
But I actually called the operator once, I got her screenshot, and they pointed out, surprisingly.
Hey. Yeah. Some changes were made overnight and this morning. And went live. And Commissioner Maravito's on.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay, thank you.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, this is Mark Anderson.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Dave Smith here. Good morning, Eileen.
Good morning, solicitor.
Had those 2 nights where you...
Chris Apter's here.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Drop off
Chris.
to your house. Okay.
Scott Williams here.
Thank you.
Christmas?
Yeah, Christmas came early.
Yeah, Christmas came early. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're not gonna sit and wait for you.
But we used to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're moving.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Sheriff wants me to call him.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You just joined?
Hi, this is the sheriff. How are you?
Oh, okay. Hang on.
Eileen is trying to call you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would expect you will have a bag of raviolis for your friend.
You've got,
I'm glad you guys still doing better. Mary, okay?
yes.
Okay.
You okay? Okay, good, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have everybody?
I'll mute unless you need me, Commissioner.
Okay.
Ask you to please rise for the opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. Dear gracious God, we thank you for this wonderful time of the year. We ask you to bless our Jewish friends as they celebrate the season of Hanukkah. Protect the nation of Israel and help us to always be their ally. Lord, we celebrate this Christmas season. Remember how you sent your Son, the light of the world. You chose to have him come as a baby to be born in a manger, to the wonder and obedience of Mary and Joseph, the most magnificent of all nights in history. As the carol reminds us, O holy night, truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. And in his name all oppressions shall cease. Let each one of us during this season praise his holy name. Let us fall on our knees in humble adoration. We live in a time with uncertainty, with a pandemic, dissension, violence, and chaos. However, we know you are the same yesterday, today, and forever. You are our hope, love, and peace that is forever. May we focus on that every day. Father, we pray for a divine measure of strength for all the ones on the front lines to battle this virus. Protect them and their loved ones. Lastly, we ask for healing for the ones that are afflicted by this enemy. Please touch their bodies and make them whole. We ask you to guide us today as we continue to lead the county. May we be filled with wisdom to do your will. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will convene the Commissioners' public meeting at this time and ask for the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Public comment on agenda items only at this time. Hearing none, we'll move on.
Bid openings with Nikki Godshaw.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
We received 8 bids for the small local bridge inspection program. I'm going to go ahead and open those as we go through the agenda, and then I'll report on the amounts for each of those.
The solicitor's on, yes.
And we can do that, Mr. Solicitor?
What's the question?
She's gonna open up all the bids while we're proceeding with the meeting.
Oh, yeah, she may do that, certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So then we'll move on to accounts payable cash requirements with Nikki Godshaw.
Commissioners, the cash requirements report is 2.9 million. You'll notice that 1.7 million of that is grants. 1.65 was the COVID relief grant. Did you have any questions about that?
No.
I don't have any. Commissioner Vito, do you have any questions?
No, I have none.
Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the cash requirements?
I'll move to accept.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Aye.
And Nikki, would you explain the 1.657 million?
Yeah, that was the rest of the small business grants.
Right.
The nonprofits went out, and the alternative learning center, the balances we had for those.
Thank you.
All right, so personnel actions with Roxanne Greco.
Good morning, Commissioners. If we could move to 5.0 first, it would be the TDA actions. And in information services, we are asking to reclassify one PC technician, pay grade 7-8, to a network engineer, pay grade 8-9.
Okay, any discussion or questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
That's.
Oh, I'm
that's-
sorry. I thought we were on a
No, we're on salary.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, and then moving back up to 4.0, personnel actions. In the Information Services Department, Jason A. Clark as a full-time replacement senior network engineer, pay grade 9, $55,000 annually, effective December 28th, 2020. In Information Services, Haley M. Mall as a full-time replacement network engineer, pay grade 8, $41,000 annually, effective December 28th, 2020. In the Sheriff's Office, Lee M. Zimmerman, full-time replacement deputy sheriff, pay grade DS, $18.34 hourly, effective January 4th, 2021. In the Public Defender's Office, Elizabeth McRae, full-time reclassification to fully qualified status, paralegal, pay grade 7, $18.08 hourly, effective December 13th, 2020. And then lastly, in the courts, Janine Houghton, full-time reclassification to fully qualified status as a law clerk 2, pay grade 11, $50,548.35 annually, effective December 13th, 2020.
Okay, so these are replacement positions. We've had several openings at the Information Services. They've been basically on life support for some time. And as I've described, our IS system is our central nervous system of the county. They touch every department, our communication, everything that we do online goes through them. And I'm glad to see that we got 2 positions of those filled. The sheriff's been down. With his help, we have a full-time replacement here. He still has several deputies down part-time. And our public defender is being reclassified because she met her full qualifications now. And then a law clerk being reclassified after an agreement with the commissioners and the courts on how to address the law clerk situation over the years. Any questions or
Chairman,
discussion?
By the way,
Yeah.
it's very hard to hear Ms. Grieco, or whomever's at that mic. They may need to turn that mic up. I know.
Speak directly into it, yeah.
Okay, is that better? I was getting an echo.
Oh, okay.
Is that better, Commissioner?
You gotta say something, Roxanne.
Say something, please.
Sing it.
Commissioner Mirabito?
Yeah, it's a little better, but I think
Okay.
for the public out there, it's fine. Yeah, that's better, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any questions or discussion on the personnel actions? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, so carried.
Moving on to 6.0,
Salary
salary board
board.
actions.
One moment. Recess.
I had to turn the page here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, right here. Recess Commissioners' public meeting at this time, and we'll adjourn the salary board action.
In Information Services, reclassifying 1 PC technician, pay grade 7-8, to a network engineer, pay grade 8-9.
Okay, any questions?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, so carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll reconvene the Commissioners' public meeting at this time.
All right. Maya Toon has a few informational items. Maya?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. The first item I have is that the county will be requesting bids for our bread products for the prison and pre-release center. The second item I have is to acknowledge that we will be requesting bids for the purchase of 144 golf carts for the Lycoming County White Deer Golf Course. And then also we are going to rebid the transfer station belt and chute upgrade project out at RMS.
Okay, any questions or comments on those information items?
Yeah, I think the 7.2, the purchase of the golf carts. And this has been agonizing to all the commissioners right now. It's a very difficult decision. One in which we wanted to find some information out as far as what the costs were. We had a quote, and it was over 500,000. There were different quotes. Some for leasing, and some for outright purchase or lease to buy, and none of them looked really good as far as I was concerned on the cost, especially with the leasing. We could not do that because we would not own the carts after 7 years. And the reason why we're discussing the carts is because those golf carts are 18 to 20 years old, and they are breaking down at a rate that's just upsetting people. And plus, it's the parts. So we're using some parts of old golf carts to fix other ones, and they're getting more and more. Our fleet has been dwindling, and so for the past 2 years, we've had to rent carts at $16,000 per year. Now, thank God that the management company over there has been turning things around, and the taxpayers have not been paying anything on White Deer other than its bond. So this is something that the management company has asked for. They've asked for it, and even the authority before the management company was asking for the carts. It is one of the most important parts of the course because the majority of people do ride, and we have to make another tough decision. The management company also has some money in the bank and would be willing to give us X amount of money to put towards them, and then we'll loan them the rest of the money so that they would make payments. Commissioner Marabito, you read an article. Would you like to make a comment on that about the golf courses?
Well, it's interesting. Golf with the pandemic has really shot up, and nationally, and it's because people are able to participate in it and still social distance. So, I mean, there's been an incredible increase. The important thing that I just want to reemphasize from what my colleague said, and I'll touch more on that article, is that the money for the cards is not coming from taxpayer property tax money. When Commissioner Massera says that the management company has money in the bank, what it means is that they were able to make a profit, and their cash flow is such that it's the taxpayers' money. They're making money for the taxpayers through the golf course. And they're going to be able to put down, a substantial amount of money, probably $100,000, that is money that the course has made on the cart. Now, you might say, okay, well, wait, why don't we just give that money back to the taxpayers? Well, the goal of this whole endeavor is to try to have a self-sustaining course that doesn't cost the taxpayers any money, but increases the quality of life in Lycoming County. Not everybody plays golf, but it's one more check on a list if people are thinking of coming to relocate, especially retirees, to Lycoming County. And that's why I mentioned the article in the Wall Street Journal, Will COVID Save Golf? And it's basically, there's been a 21% increase in the number of golf rounds played in August 2020 compared with August 2019 on a national level. And, maybe someday we would have a developer come along who says, you know what, I'd like to buy some of that land near the golf course, build some homes, and we get people in the county, people who have disposable income, people who have the ability to, go to our restaurant, go to small businesses. So, but the important thing is that the money to pay for the cards that he described, that monthly lease payment of $16,000 has been coming out of the revenue. Just like the landfill, the revenue, the expenses at the landfill come from the revenue. Well, the expenses at the golf course have been coming from the revenue. And we have to just, we're on a path of trying to say, look, we can have a golf course that's self-funding if we do it right, if we stay on top of it. So that's where we are, and I think the three of us agree that leaving the current situation with the carts the way they are doesn't make sense. We'll lose money. We're also going to be able to hopefully raise a few of the costs over there that will, have that place generate a little more revenue by having the nicer cars. So, yeah, that's the important thing for people to realize. People said to us, why don't you just sell the golf course? We went to talk to people about selling the golf course. They didn't want to give any, very little money in the condition that it was in before. It's just not. So there's no point in giving away our assets, right?
Okay.
I'll expand a little bit on this. When I came into office, we explored what we could do selling portions of the land. We found out that it was tied in with federal monies back from 1978. They had taken some federal monies to, it says in the contract, structures. They can't identify what structures it is, whether it's the restaurant, whether it's the clubhouse, we're not sure. But when it's tied to federal monies like that, then you have to, you can't just give the money back. You have to swap out land, and the land has to be recreation. This happened down in the city of Reading after they put a building up, a $10 million building up, and then they had to go out and buy land to make up the difference, exchange it. So we currently have our planning department and the federal legislature looking into this and seeing what we can do, what our options are, and how we can move forward to try to do something. It'd be beautiful to have maybe the par 3 sold and have townhouses over there that would have people that are retired, they're golfers, and that would be a great vision to have. But at this point, due to that land being tied to federal monies, our hands are tied until we can move forward and try to get through this red tape. The golf carts themselves, they're breaking down. People are left out in the course. The straps are breaking. The bags of clubs are falling off the carts. They've had to replace several clubs that were damaged because of them falling off the carts, which would upset any golfer, having their clubs damaged while they're playing. So we have to do something. It's just making sure that the taxpayers don't have to pay for that burden. And we can do so moving forward. As the commissioner says, they have money in the bank to assist us. And the key is to make sure that it's self-sustaining and that it's there as an asset, but it doesn't continue to be a white elephant that costs the taxpayers millions of dollars like it has for the last 35 years. And I think the management company that's there now is doing a good job, and it's on the right track. It's just making sure that it stays on the right track. We have a new authority in place. They have good members on there. They brought some great ideas to us. There was a cost analysis done on the actual lease and moving forward how much it would cost, and now it's going to go out for RFP, and we'll make a sound decision that won't cost the taxpayers. That's our goal, to make sure that it goes in the right track and it doesn't become a money pit that it has been in the past.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So one of the questions the public may ask is Commissioner Messere said we were going to loan them some money. The three of us said to ourselves, look, if we buy them through this company, we end up paying an interest rate of 6-7%. Why are we doing that? We have money in the bank that that can be used that we might be getting 0.5% interest on. So we can, they can put down on, and we can utilize that. The important thing for the public to understand is that all three of us are committed. This is not another handout for the golf course. In other words, we only even made the decision to buy the carts because the course was in a position with positive cash flow to be able to make. It's been making a $16,000 payment on the lease of them, and it just seems smarter to outright buy them rather than to continue to throw money down with a lease on carts, the small numbers. So I don't want the public to view it as just another effort by the county to prop it up. That's not the case at all. And if that were the case, I wouldn't vote for it.
I agree. Good point. Very good point, Commissioner.
Yeah, they've shown a record over. Now, we still need to get people to go to the course. I always get a little perturbed when I hear of nonprofits that do their outings at another county's course or a course outside the county, because I think, you're in our county, you're not paying taxes, property taxes, you're not paying sales tax. The least you could do is run your nonprofit golf outing at the county golf course.
And the golf course has been wonderful with the golf tournaments for charities. It brings in roughly $300,000 a year to local charities. So this year they lost two big ones because of COVID. They'll be back next year. One is very, very big that they were concerned they may lose, but that outfit chose to come back. So that will be a major boost to the golf course next year. So they're on the right track, and the main thing is to make sure it doesn't become a money pit or taxpayer money is used. And if it is used, it's going to be at a lower interest rate, like the commissioner said, that's going to be more cost effective and it'll be paid back. And so far they've been paying all their bills, or we won't be voting for it. Okay, moving on to the action items.
8.1 with Maya Toon and Chris Ebner, voting on submission of County Criminal Justice Advisory Board Technical Assistance and Trainee Grant to PCCD.
Good morning. I'll start. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
Hi, Maya. Good morning, Commissioners. This is, it was hard to believe till I looked in it. This is the 5th year we've applied for this CJAB mini grant to assist with Lycoming College to work on our recidivism study. It's been an ongoing effort. Initially when it started, we tried to get, the true definition of recidivism, which is 3 years. Dr. Richmond has graciously wanted to work with us and keep this ongoing even after that initial commitment, and this money is used because it's a very labor-intensive endeavor. Money is used for students to work on it during the semester and pulling all the data that is needed. And maybe another update, apparently Lycoming County is one of a very small number that actually have tackled a recidivism study. And in 2021, with Dr. Richmond, they kind of want myself and Dr. Richmond to present to the Reentry Coalition, the Pennsylvania Reentry Coalition Council, a little bit on how to get other counties started on this endeavor, because they believe it's going to eventually be mandatory, and we are kind of on the cutting edge of this project. So that's a little history of what's going on in our county.
Chris, this was, like you said, 5 years ago. I think we were the pioneers of the state in this. The partnership with Lycoming College, Dr. Richmond, and the county to do this. It was originally a $10,000 grant. If you would do this and send it out for, it'd be thousands and thousands of dollars to pull those stats together. They had interns come into the probation office. I saw those interns work diligently. It was very time consuming as they went through the files and went through the recidivism. It helped us define the definition for recidivism, and at that time the committee met up at Lycoming College. It developed into subcommittees. There was hundreds of volunteers that were involved in that throughout the community. It helped establish a reentry coordinator position that was hired that helped people transition from jail to the streets, helped reduce the probation and parole violations, which ultimately led down the cost on the prison on recommitments. So it's been an outstanding program. It's saved a lot of money, and I believe Lycoming County is definitely the pioneers. It'll be exciting to see what happens in the future on the state level with you and Dr. Richmond going forward to encourage more counties to do this.
Unlike past boards, we have Commissioner Scott Metzger, who was part of the system in adult probation. So back in 2014, when we were experiencing the overcrowded and the heavy cost of that, which was going to reach 600 and some thousand just to house these inmates, not to mention transportation and medical costs. We as commissioners, a proposal was put together and presented to us. At that time, it was $850,000. Well, that's a lot of money. And so, we asked about, well, what is your proof? What data do you have to support that this program is going to work and save the county money? Because that's the bottom line, is to try to save the county money. So it was funny because one of the most important parts of the program is, do you reduce recidivism? And I remember, well, define recidivism. And we couldn't. We didn't know how to do that. And so it was the task of the adult probation, Dr. Richmond, and everyone. You think that's silly. You think it's silly. Well, it's not, because what happens if they recidivate in 6 months or a year? If those numbers that were at one time 80% recidivism rate, well, it was just a revolving door. Now that we have a definition, it's easier to monitor. And I think we're still trying to find a better definition.
Yeah, fine-tune it, yeah.
So it is important, it's well worth the money, and I guess it's grant driven, so I'm all in favor of keep moving out on this.
Commissioner Mirabito, any comments?
Yeah, no, I think it's great that they're going to apply for this grant again. I noticed the amount, Mr. Ebner's a little smaller, huh? Or is it typically only about 1,500?
It's typically only about 1,500. I think I was able to bump it up $100 this year. Again, at the end of the day, bang for your buck. You're going to be hard pressed to find one. It is a grant, but for this small investment that we take the time to provide the Lycoming College, the bang for the buck is astronomical when it comes to what it does for us.
Right. That's the advantage of having two educational institutions in the community. You take a woman like Dr. Richmond, who's, dedicated her whole professional life to studying criminology, and then you're able to get students involved by using the grant money, and it does something for the public. So that's good news.
Yeah.
You mentioned the colleges. You don't realize the value outside of the educational component that the colleges provide as partners with Lycoming County. We utilize their resources quite a bit, and thank God that we have that partnership and the ability with our staff to work collaboratively with them to make a better community. It's awesome to see that partnership. We thank Penn College and Lycoming College for being one of those partners with us.
And as Lycoming College students would do those studies and look into the stats, a few of them ended up being interns. They did internships with our office too, went a step further. So we helped establish that relationship even stronger. So We want to thank Dr. Richmond, we want to thank Chris Ebner for being pioneers and everyone that took part of this. I mean, there's been subcommittees that worked very hard at Lycoming College, and many volunteers that put their time in to assist this, to make sure that it become the premier program that it has to assist in helping us move forward. So thank you, Chris, and everybody.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, and happy holidays to all.
Same to you.
Thank you, brother.
This time I ask for a motion on the action item 8.1, submission of a county.
I'll move to approve.
And I'll second that, but it would be remiss of us not to mention Judge Butts, because she's one of the founders of bringing this program here to Lycoming County, as well as the sheriff for providing a lot of accurate information. So thank you both.
Commissioner Beal, second?
Well, I did.
Oh, you second?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I did, yeah.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye, so carried. Thank you.
We're gonna jump to 8.11. Maya Toon is gonna do that one. It's for the resolution authorizing a memorandum of agreement between the City of Williamsport and Lycoming County.
Good morning again. This is just a resolution from the city indicating that they have acknowledged and approved the establishment of a part-time processing center at City Hall. This goes back and ties to the memorandum of agreement that the county and the city approved back on September 24th of 2020.
Okay, any questions or discussion on this resolution? Any questions or comments?
Well, I've got a comment. I believe there's a foundation that has already been laid and a wall starting to be built. And it's not a productive wall. It's a barrier between the city and the county. And when I came in here in 2012, there was also that wall. And we broke it down and we cooperated. We helped the city as much as we could, okay? To the point of being criticized for, hey, what are you doing? You know, you're giving a lot to the city. Well, let me explain something to you. That was a good relationship. Now, I don't know why. I don't know why they are not getting back with us. The county has given this city millions of dollars for a number of projects, okay? And we offered much support, even currently and into the future. And we can't get them to give us a decision on a parking lot that we need to be put in our name, when we also own something underneath their facility, a piece of land. It would be an easy swap. It would be an easy solution to come up to help the county. And no matter what we say, well, no matter what we do, no matter what we request, and it's not that big of a request, it's not getting done. My patience is wearing out. So let it be known that this commissioner is going to look at the city in a different manner if you don't start to cooperate. We need your help. We've given you help, and we will continue to give you help. But if we don't see any reciprocation, and this is not even a big issue, what gives us the incentive? I'm done, you know, with my comment, but.
I'll echo the commissioner's comments. I reached out to the city immediately upon coming in. There was a new administration over there. We're a new administration. I want to see us working together. There's so many things we could do together to make the city better. And if the city's better, the county's better. There's no doubt about that. It's the hub of the economic, and there's so many things we could do together. The best way to describe this is there's no sense of urgency over there. None. There is with some of the council members. I've been in contact with them. They have ideas. We're trying to work things together. Commissioner's right about this land. We want to sell this building. We have reached out to them numerous times about the land underneath it. We had our appraisal done in 1 week on the property underneath the parking garage. We had it done back before COVID. 1 week. We have reached out continuously over and over and over. The latest thing we've done is Commissioner Marabito has sent a letter asking them, and he gave them a gracious deadline till the end of November. And I believe he wrote it in the beginning of October. And still nothing. And we're still waiting. There's other projects we could do to assist the city. They're in dire straits financially. We've thrown out those ideas. There's some preliminary talks. Hopefully we can have that thing happen. But they could partner with us on a lot of things that reduce the cost in the city. They're looking for monies so they don't have to raise their taxes. There's things that we could do together to help everybody in this county. But there's no sense of urgency, and it's very disappointing, extremely disappointing. I've vented to both commissioners, and I'm extremely patient. I'm probably the most patient of the three of us, and I know at least you. And so my patience is very, very thin at this point. So I would encourage things to be vented over there. They get back to us, and they start working with us. They asked us on a project around City Hall, back when the police cruiser was damaged, to protect their officers, about putting fencing around there. We met at a 7:30 meeting one night, right after that had happened. We had the council members on there, we had the 3 commissioners, we had the sheriff on there. We thought we were going in the right direction. It was going to be fencing like they have at the federal building, where you would need to key in to get in, and the police cruisers would be protected, the officers would be protected. We would take Act 13 monies because of safety. We could provide those officers that safety. A quote on a fencing. Quote, we have not heard one word from them since that night. Not one word. What is going on? So we encourage them to finally get a hold of us and do something, because we want to work together as partners. We can't do that. We have a sense of urgency here in the county. We're doing things. We're getting things done. And we want to see the same thing done with the city. And we can do it together with partners to reduce the taxpayers' burden on everybody. So I'm done with that too.
And just so that you understand.
Gentlemen,
Go ahead.
well, I was going to say, I know that we oftentimes see the world from the seats we sit in, and so we are somewhat frustrated because it's been a while. We've asked and we've sent letters. I think that they are probably, I haven't spoken to them specifically about the appraisal, but I think that they are in the process of trying to make a decision about City Hall. You know, we've extended to have them come and rent space from us. We took them on tours of 3rd Street Plaza. So in terms of Commissioner Metzger, the issue of the fencing, maybe they revisited that because we know there's millions of dollars of changes they need to make to that building. So I don't think we should necessarily take offense at the fact that it's taken a while, but try to understand that you know how difficult it is when the 3 of us are trying to put moving parts together and we have 3 different perspectives. Well, they've got a city council, plus they've got an executive branch, the mayor, and money that's spent needs to be either approved, or if it hasn't been budgeted or previously approved. So I just would hate to see us jump to conclusions, you know, sort of what happens when people headed towards a divorce. They start reading signals of the other side wrong. And we also know that it's been a year of pandemic. You know, they have a different approach to it. They've been holding virtual meetings. You know, they've been trying to have employees work from home. I think that there's a lot of positive stuff that may come in the direction of having them share space with us, which would benefit the county in terms of having empty space and benefit the city and the taxpayers mostly overall, because the taxpayers would save money. So let's just see what, it's also it's very difficult during the holiday season, and for all we know, maybe some of this is all tied up together, right, in terms of them making some decisions about what they're trying to do.
Well, Commissioner, when I raised taxes in 2014 for the 2015 year, I went to a number of the city council people, and I've been asking for that parking lot so that we could sell our building here at Executive Plaza to make it attractive to a purchaser for what, now 7 years. Okay, I make no excuses for this, okay, for them. This has been 7 years we've been asking for it, okay? And even to the point where it probably won't yield us much more money in the sale of the property, because we're gonna put a restriction on the parking. This parking lot out here is vital to the downtown business community. I mean, we're not going to sell it to an investor and not have limits on this parking lot. Our downtown business people need this parking lot after 5 o'clock. We would put a stipulation on that agreement, which is going to net us less money. We understand that, but we're also looking out for the community and the downtown business owners as well. So,
Commissioner, I look at this as twofold. A sense of urgency and a sense of communication. And I'm fine with things being delayed if you're communicating. Communication is everything in life. You can't communicate, you don't get anything done. We have reached out to them over and over and over. There is no communication to us from the mayor. Zero. In the council, there's certain council members that are getting back to us. There are some that are. We need to have a partnership. It's not there. So maybe this is what it takes to get it there.
Well, you know what, there's another possibility, which I didn't think of until you just reminded me, Commissioner Mazzara, that you've been trying to do this for 7 years. Maybe there's a feeling over at the city that they don't want that parking lot privatized. I forgot that you've been working on this for so long. Maybe they don't, it's in the public domain right now, and it's actually owned by the city, and they've given the county a 99-year lease on it. Maybe they don't want it privatized.
Then communicate it to us instead of stalling.
Yeah, well,
Stop the stalling.
Maybe they're not clear for certain whether they want it privatized, or maybe they're thinking if we go into the county building with the county, we want to make sure that we have space for our vehicles. I don't know. All I'm saying is, there's a lot of things we need to work on together. So I understand your frustration. I completely do.
Yeah, it's been a year for me and 7 for the commissioner on other issues. And there needs to be a sense of urgency to get things done. That's why people put us in office, to get things done. They're tired of listening and talk. They want things done. And that's why I'm sitting here.
The only thing we have to remember is what we may want to get done or think, and I'm not even sure, I don't want it privatized. I want it to be open to the public. I want the public, I think it's an asset, and I don't want to just privatize the parking lot. I haven't spoken much about it, but I think that when you have public assets like that, if I were on city council or if I was the mayor, why would I give away an asset that I have, that the city has, the city taxpayers have, that they can either raise revenue with or they could use for development or something? Why would we do that just as county officials? But having said that, you're right, we need at least communication, and if the communication is, hey, we don't want to do it, they should at least tell us that. I don't think that that's it. I think that they're trying to solve the problem of how do they deal with all the upgrades they need for the ADA, the Disabilities Act, the ramps, all this stuff. They're trying to look at whether it makes sense to dump all that money into City Hall, or whether they'll come with us. And we've offered, we toured, we gave them tours. So anyway, let's not throw out the whole baby with the bathwater in the sense of, we may be able to get them engaged in coming into the county building, which would be tremendous for the taxpayers, because it also means that we could start to leverage where we have departments that could provide services to them. We could start to save taxpayers money by, instead of them having an HR department and us having an HR, or, that's maybe not the greatest example, information services.
No, it's a great example that we're willing to take on some of those responsibilities, and yet they're not willing to give us an answer.
Yeah, well, so let's keep the, and we got enough enemies out there, don't we?
No, not really.
This isn't about enemies, this is about communicating and trying to get things done together as a group.
I know.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the resolution.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
8.2, Jason Yorks, vote on amendment to agreement with Atlas Copco Compressors.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Jason.
Commissioners, before you is the 5-year agreement that we already had a 5-year agreement, PSA, with Atlas Copco. They service the air compressors at the recycling center. There's 2 very large air compressors down across from the office, and they need frequent servicing. The last 5 years, the company held their price. This year, this new increase works out to, I think, 8%. There's increases, but then they are holding it for the next 5 years. If you annualize it across 10 years, it works out to about a 1% increase every year. But I am recommending your approval for this 5-year PSA with Atlas Copco.
Any discussion or questions? Motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
So carried.
8.3,
Hold on 1 second. Jason, why are you on the phone?
Yes, sir.
We continue to have problems at the 3rd Street recycling with the garbage being dumped there. Could you please reach out to the city police today, have them review their cameras, and
I can do that.
and let them know we want these ignorant individuals prosecuted, that this has to stop or we're going to remove that site. I got a picture sent to me last weekend, and it looked like a dump. It didn't look like a recycling center, it looked like a dump. And it's not, the city's having this hauled away, taxpayers' expense, and it's not fair to you guys over there to clean up this crap either.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm going to add that we were deeply saddened by your loss and hope everything's better for you right now.
Well, thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, extend our sympathy.
Losing my mom was a different experience, and this time of year, it saddens me every day to read the newspaper and to see that there's so many of us in this area suffering the same thing. I don't know if I've ever seen 4 pages of obituaries like I did this morning. So, yes, I appreciate the reaching out of all the commissioners and the comments and the cards and everything. It's deeply appreciated.
okay. 8.3, Jenny Picciano, vote on 2020 fair grant agreement.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, this is a contract with PHFA, so the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Authority, for approval of our 2020 fair contract. It's actually for $990,000 for 7 projects. And those support affordable housing, and the 7 projects are STEPS Supportive Housing Program, STEPS Homes in Need Program, STEPS Homes in Need, or the Urgent Need Program, the Master Leasing Program, Greater Lycoming Habitat for Humanity's Diamond Street Home Construction Project, American Rescue Workers Rental Assistance Program, and the Liberty House Project administered by the YWCA.
Okay, any questions or comments?
No, we thank you for all the work you put in this, and because it is a lot of work.
Yes.
And we have great partners there with TLC, with STEP and Habitat. There's a lot of benefit that comes through this program with FAIR.
Now, Jenny, the agenda says 99,000.
Yes, that was a typo. It's 990,000.
Okay. I didn't know if you mentioned that at the beginning.
I did, yes. And this was for it's our 2020 contract, but the application went into PHFA in 2019. So there's about a year delay between the time we apply and by the time we receive funding.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Jenny, for your work on that.
Thank you, Jenny. And
Welcome.
Commissioner, there was a new agenda that was put out this morning that had the adjustment made on there, so.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I think the other thing was
Yeah.
missing too. I'll get that when I get it.
Okay.
Get it off the email.
Yep. Okay, a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Thank you.
Shannon Rossman for 8.4, vote on agreement with Delta Development Group.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is our annual contract that we have with Delta Development Group. What we do with this contract is, over the course of the year, if we need additional services like help with zoning amendments, for instance, we currently have an agreement with them to help us with the levees RCAP grant program for the relief wells, which the bid is due December 30th. They help us with technical stuff that we don't have the experience with on staff. So when we need their help, we ask them for a cost estimate, we negotiate that, and then we put that through under this contract.
Shannon, as the commissioners were going over this contract this morning, we looked at each other, and there were a few things that we wanted to get more information on regarding the contract. So I'm going to make a motion to table this until December 29th.
Yep, our next meeting.
We understand the need and what they're going to do, but we're looking at some of the cost associated with it, and what is their responsibilities as a business, you know, serving counties, and I'm sure they serve many other government agencies. So we'll have a few questions to ask you to ask.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you. So
I'll second the motion to table.
Okay. All in favor to table?
Aye.
Aye, so carried. So it'll be tabled till December 29th agenda. We'll address it at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
thanks.
8.5, Mark Anderson, vote on amendment to agreement with Palmetto Posting.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Mark.
This is just basically a re-sign for the contract that we have for Palmetto Posting, who handles our the due diligence of making sure that people are well informed of their delinquent taxes in preparation for our sales and such.
Any discussion? Hearing
Mark,
none.
can you give, this is always interesting. It's not a simple task to do this posting. It's more complicated than one might think. How many typically in a year does Palmetto do for us?
It's fluctuated. This year it was a little higher than normal, and I'm not quite sure if that's really a true indication of where we were as a country with the COVID coming through. I will be curious to see what next year's numbers are, but we average right around like 1,900 to 2,000 postings a year.
Okay. And of those 1,900 to 2,000, how many typically end up being able to pay and not lose their home? A good portion of them do. Of that number, there might be roughly 1,000 that are on the line for upset sale. And of that 1,000, we probably end up with about 150, 175 that look to go to sale. So roughly around 800 or so will pay and clean up their delinquency. Okay. Thanks a lot. Yep, thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried.
8.6, Beth Baylor, vote on amendment to agreement with Sullivan for emergency dispatch services.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Beth.
Good morning. This is an extension of the 2008 amendment to agreement that started in 2008 for the coverage of Lycoming County covering Sullivan County's calls. We did increase this year. In 2019, our fees for Sullivan County were $66,707.85, and I renegotiated to increase it to $99,800 annually, and I fixed that for the next 3 years. So there is an increase due to the cost of business for 911 increasing.
Okay, any questions or comments?
Good job, Beth, on renegotiating. It's also fair to Sullivan County, but it covers us and protects us.
Thank you, sir.
And Beth, if there are any issues up there relating to COVID, please keep us aware of it.
I certainly will.
Okay.
Okay, Beth, thank you again. And can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
8.7, Leslie Kilpatrick, vote on amendment to agreement with Windstream Enterprise for internet service.
Good morning, Commissioners. We're asking your approval to renew our internet through Windstream for our downtown campuses and also out for Department of Public Safety. The cost would be $950 a month, which is a drop from the $1,720 that we spend today. So we're saving a little bit less than $800 a month.
Great. That's good news.
That's very good news, Leslie. You did that, huh?
We are trying.
Good job.
Again, it's another example of how our department heads and different individuals and departments will diligently work on behalf of the taxpayers to negotiate fees and contracts, and they do a great job. And here's another example of one. So thank you, Leslie. I have a motion to accept.
I'll move to accept.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So
Thank you,
carried.
Commissioners.
Thank you.
8.8, Forrest Lehman, vote on increased pay for poll workers.
Good morning.
Morning, Forrest.
This is a proposed new compensation structure for the county's poll workers. It would not take effect until January 1st of 2022. That is because the judge of elections and inspector of elections are elected offices. So an increase could not take effect until new terms start for them. The increase would be reflected not in my 2021 budget next year, but in the 2022 budget. The need really is acute at this point. Our poll workers, they're from our community. You know, they're family, friends, they're neighbors. When you go into a polling place on election day, those people are from your township, your borough, even your ward in your borough. And they do a great job under, well, challenging circumstances, even under normal conditions. But, you know, we've all been through 2020. It's been a really difficult presidential election cycle. We've had COVID-19. Their work really is harder than it has ever been. they need to know more, they need to do more. Sadly, they have had to put up with more unpleasantness than ever. And so I think we need to do this to show the poll workers that we value the work that they're doing. They really are the building blocks of democracy out there, them and our polling places. And we want to, going into next year, try to retain as many of them as we can, and help us to recruit as many of the best people as possible.
As far as these numbers are within statutory guidelines, in other words, you didn't just pull them out of the air. The state statute, right, tells us how much minimum or how much maximum.
That's right. The Pennsylvania Election Code sets out a range in which counties can set compensation, because depending on the size of your county, the number of poll workers, precincts that you have, counties are going to arrive at different decisions about what is a fair level of compensation. But I think all counties are having to take a hard look at this in the wake of Act 77, because people might look at Act 77 at first and say, well, it's all about mail-in voting. What does it have to do with poll workers? But it has put a lot of additional complexity into the work the poll workers have to do out at the precincts, because when you have mail-in voters or absentee voters who then show up at a polling place expecting to vote in person, they're ending up having to do a provisional ballot, or they're ending up involved in a surrender process, both of which are processes that are more complicated, requires the poll worker to be more on the ball. And so it's put a lot of new challenges on their plate that they didn't have before.
And we want to thank all the poll workers, the judges that go out and do this job. It is increased education for them, training. It's not an easy task, and they don't get paid very much to do it, that's for sure.
No, it feels repetitive at this point, because I've said it before, but if you see somebody who's a poll worker, thank them for the work that they do, because they don't get a whole lot else for it.
Absolutely.
Do you have time to remain here until Commissioner's comment?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I'd just like to add this. I went out and bought 22 boxes of candy on election night. And I took off I left to go visit some polling stations. How many do we have?
81 precincts.
We have 81 precincts. And I took the northern tier route. I didn't get back. I left at 10 o'clock. I didn't get back until 7:15, 7:30. I only made it to 18.
Yeah.
Now, I did take lunch.
Yeah.
But that's how vast Lycoming County is. These places are in remote places. And to understand that they have a huge responsibility, whether they only get 80-some voters or whether they get 2,000, okay? But the time it takes for some of these other precincts that are way out in the boondocks to come drive here, drive back, a couple times, what is it, 4 or 6 times a year.
Yeah.
Not to mention the extra training that they had to go through.
Right.
We see that your recommendation to us was justifiable, and we want to thank them as well.
I wish I could take a trip like the one you're describing. I've got other stuff to do on election day. I'm too busy, but it is sort of just majestic to contemplate that, imagining all over the county, there's 81 different places just, dotted around this county where, it's fire halls, it's churches, it's little township buildings, up on a hill, maybe they got a nice view of the valley, but in every one of those places, there's something important playing out. And it may not amount to much on its own, but when you put them all together, now you've got a whole county voting and then a whole state voting. And that is the basic building block right there. And the poll workers are the ones making that happen.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
A motion to accept the vote on increased pay for poll workers.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
8.9, Scott Williams, vote on resolution 2020-40.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Scott.
So, as a bit of background on this, as you'll recall, we have a contract with PennDOT where the county is reimbursed for a transportation planning service provided by the county planning department. So we update that contract every 2 years. We just did that this previous June. And that contract contains the specifics of what work activities we're going to perform and how much will be reimbursed. So we also have an underlying master agreement with PennDOT where the county agrees to be the host agency that provides those planning services. Going along with that master agreement, we have an authorization and certification resolution that's approved by the current Board of Commissioners. So we were recently doing a bit of a document review, and we noticed that the most current resolution that we had on file was from 2016. So this is an updated resolution to place on file with PennDOT to reflect the current board composition.
Okay, any questions or comments? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye, so carried.
Quick question for you, Mr. Williams.
Yes.
The emails that are attached to this resolution, I think maybe they're not. Do you guys have an email attached to your resolution? Do the other commissioners?
Hang on one second.
I think it's okay. It doesn't have to do with your resolution.
No, I don't.
That's okay. Okay. I think it was just a typo there. Okay. On attachment. Thanks. It's just a 2-page resolution, right?
Commissioners, an email attached to the next resolution.
Yeah.
2020-41.
4-1 resolution, there's an email attached to it.
Oh, okay. It got, well, no, mine, I have not an email. I have something on the 40, but that's okay. I see now what it is. It's not doing this. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
It's just, okay, thanks.
Yep.
Are we moving on?
Yep.
8.10 with Scott Williams for the resolution 2020-41.
Yeah, so this is very, very similar to the prior item. We also need an updated authorization resolution from the current Board of Commissioners to submit along with our Pennsylvania Infrastructure Bank or PIB loan paperwork that's associated with our county bridge bundling project. So while we were developing the project and drafting all the PIB loan documents, we had a resolution approved by the commissioners in 2018. So we now need you to update that resolution to reflect the current board composition because we're ready to submit the final PIB loan paperwork to PennDOT. So the authorization resolution just needs to match who we're going to have sign the agreement.
Yep.
And the base agreement is the PIB loan, the 521172.
Yes, wait.
You know, the resolution 2020-40 references the PIB loan. And if you notice it, resolution 2020-40 discusses the PIB loan of $7 million.
Yes.
And 2020-41, I believe, is the execution of documents.
That's signed by Commissioner Maravito. By Commissioner Metzger.
Yeah, but what he's saying is they're backwards.
I think they're backwards, yeah.
Yep.
I think it's not a big deal. It just is we can pass them. Your discussion of them is unless you have them some other way on your.
No, from what you've described, they're flipped because the agreement number, when you said that agreement number whatever with PennDOT, yeah, that would be what's described on the agenda as the resolution 2020-40. That it's in regards to the master agreement, and the resolution text that you have that would reference the PIP loan in the amount of $7 million is what's described on the agenda as 2020-41.
Okay, on the final resolution, when we sign it, we'll make sure that it's adjusted.
Okay.
Is that okay, Solicitor?
Sure. Oh. Yes, Commissioner.
Is that okay to just do that at that point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, a motion to accept Resolution 2020-41.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner?
Yep, aye.
Okay,
Thank you, Commissioners.
thank you.
Thank you.
8.12, Jenny Picciano, vote on TLC master leasing.
Hello, Commissioners. There are two items related to the Transitional Living Centers program. The first is a subrecipient agreement related to the earlier 2020 FAIR contract. The subrecipient agreement with TLC is for their 2020 FAIR grant of $245,000 for the master leasing program. And the master leasing program is a housing program for hard-to-place clients that secures leases from local landlords to sublease out to program clients for up to 12 months. We've had, I think this is the third round of funding for TLC for the master leasing program.
Okay. I have a motion to accept.
I'll move to
I'll
approve.
move. I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the second item related to TLC is actually their first drawdown request related to these funds. It's on the agenda today because we weren't sure of the timing of the previous 2020 FAIR contract. So they are actually requesting their first drawdown of $30,000 from their $245,000 award. And depending on the timing, they were either going to ask for an advance or their first drawdown. So that is why you've seen the letter today requesting the advance or first drawdown of funds.
Is she seeking the approval to?
Yeah.
And is it proper?
Typically, we don't, we handle this as an administrative function where we work with the purchasing department to approve funds. But because they've actually had to borrow funds to keep this funding program, to keep this program running, we thought it was best to bring this letter before you today.
I'll move to approve the
Okay.
drawdown.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye, so carried. Thank you, Jenny. Then we'll go back to action item, or not action item, sorry, number 2, bid openings.
Okay.
Yeah, Nikki?
The first one was Greenman Peterson. Their bid was $475,919.39. And I'd be happy to email these to you, commissioners, if that would help.
Yeah, if you could, yep.
Okay. The next one's Wilson Consulting Group. That was $297,351.20. The next one is Navarro and Wright Consulting Engineers. That's $549,030. Our fourth one is Bassett Engineering. That's $294,840. The fifth bidder, Herbert Rowland and Grubik, is $301,465.57. The sixth bidder was R.K. Webster, $348,470. The seventh bidder is Larson Design Group, $288,029.89. And our last bidder was Stahl Schaefer Engineering, $344,324.45.
Okay, thank you.
for many years, Bassett has been doing the small bridge evaluations, and Larson has been doing our large bridge. I see Shannon has. Yeah. It seemed like a very good, partnership, and we benefited through having these. As a matter of fact, I don't believe there was another county in Pennsylvania that did small bridge inspections. I'm almost positive of that. And because of that, and we live in an area that floods a lot, I think it's necessary that we have these small bridge inspections. Because you're driving across bridges you don't even see at times. They're just there and blends right in. So I'm glad to see that the two locals put in bids.
The other factor there, Commissioner, is that because we had those inspections on file when we adopted the bridge bundling program, we were in a position also to get more money from the state because we could put that program in effect.
That's a very good point, Commissioner.
We knew which bridges needed to be fixed, and other counties were trying to pass the program. They didn't know what bridges needed to be fixed. So you're right. It's been good. And I think some of that was initiated probably by Mark Morawski years ago, right?
Who was that?
Mark Morawski.
Joe.
Oh, okay. Oh, who was that? Right. This is Mark Morawski. Okay. I get it.
Okay, thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
Commissioner's comment? I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. Yeah. Took your thunder.
No thunder.
Forrest, could you give me the podium, please?
Yeah.
I don't remember which TV station I listened to, but election integrity is being questioned throughout this nation, and rightfully so. And since it's one of our primary responsibilities, I want to ask you a couple questions. So when I ask for a registration, a voter registration form, okay, do you send them out?
We send them out if a voter requests it.
If a voter requests it, okay.
Yeah.
And then if a voter sends it back to you by mail, what are the requirements of you about verifying who he or she is?
Yeah, so the voter registration form, it's specified in the election code what information a voter has to provide, but we're getting from them name, date of birth, residential address in Lycoming County if we're going to register them here. They can designate a different mailing address if they need to, like if they're going to college or they're military or something like that. They're giving us ID numbers, so it could be a driver's license, could be part of the social security number. When we register them in, we call it the SHORE system, is the statewide voter registration system. When we process that application to register them, it has to pass a check where it's corresponding the name, the ID number provided, and the date of birth against other state databases. It all has to match up. And assuming they've given us all the information we need on the application, that it's complete, and that check passes, then we are able to register that person to vote. Now, there are a lot of candidates and parties, though, that were mailing registration forms out to people all over the place last year, and that's, people would call us and say, why do I keep getting these? And it's because we can't control, any more than we can control stuff people get, any other type of junk mail, like about changing your power company or, this or that or anything else. If you're a party, you're a candidate, you can mail people pretty much anything you want, but they will do anything they can to make it look like that stuff comes from county registration office, because people are less likely then to throw it away. They're more likely to take it seriously.
Is that every state that does that? A statewide system where they check that data?
I can't say 100% for sure, but I think most states at this point have moved to statewide voter registration systems.
Okay.
Now, our system doesn't check with other states' data. We're in a group with about half the states in the country, though, where we share data several times during the year, and that directs voter maintenance mailings that we do under federal law. So we'll get information saying, hey, these might be people who are registered in your county, or who, might be data about people who died, data about people who moved to another state. We can then try to take steps to correct our records based on that. But it happens a couple times a year.
So there is a process, and this is my point. This is why there's so much dissension.
Yep.
Some states changed their registration date right up to the election day. Can you validate that person? Is it possible to run through the state safety system network,
Yeah.
and validate that register?
Every state is different, so they can make their own election laws. And so you go to a different state, they can have a very different way of doing things that when it's reported in the media, it may cause someone in Pennsylvania to say, that doesn't sound legal. It might be legal in that state. So that's the legal side of it. The logistical side of it, you're describing same-day registration. Someone can walk in on election day, they're not registered currently, they want to register and vote. Wouldn't happen in Pennsylvania because our close of registration is 15 days out. But in
Wisconsin, it did.
Right, and so, in some states they can. The logistical challenge there is exactly what you described. How do you know who this person is, if they're eligible to register? I can't say with authority how different states have solved that problem. At first glance, maybe they're having those people vote provisionally until they're able to assess and formally register them after the election. Some states, and even some counties in Pennsylvania, have what are called electronic poll books. So instead of voters signing a paper poll book, you've got like tablets out at the polling place where people could same-day register, and critically, those poll books can share data across the county. So someone can't just walk into, Williamsport 1, register same day, and then walk to another polling place in Williamsport and do the same thing, because those tablets would update each other. Right now, electronic poll books in Pennsylvania aren't allowed to do that. They're not allowed to network between precincts, but something like that would be, I think, a prerequisite if you were to have same-day registration, because otherwise, how do you stop it? And we've seen how long casting provisional ballots can take. We had 1,000 in this county in November 2020. Well, in 2016, we had 40 of them in the November presidential election. They clog up the line. So if you went to same day, I can't even imagine what it would be like having one person after another doing a provisional ballot.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, the governor of this state said that when you mail in your ballot, there's going to be a signature, right? That you will see. Okay.
Yeah.
And this governor said, well, even if it's not, how did he phrase it? That maybe if there's no signature, it still counts, or maybe if you can't identify it, it doesn't look right. What did he say?
I don't know exactly what the governor said on this topic, but in the PA election code, part of that talks about what has to be on the envelopes when the voters return a ballot. So there's an official return envelope that a ballot has to come back in. It's already got the voter's information. There's a unique barcode on it. So no county could accept a ballot that came in anything else. So if it's coming in a plain white envelope, we can't take it. So these ballots come back, and on the back of that, there is a voter's declaration that the voter has to sign. You're describing the signature. They have to sign that declaration. I'm not sure what the governor said about it, but the Secretary of the Commonwealth went to, I think, right to the state Supreme Court to request a declaratory ruling that the court then did issue one stating that counties could not set ballots aside based on analysis of handwriting on a voter's declaration. They affirmed that the signature has to be present. So if there's no signature on that declaration, the county has to set the ballot aside. But if there is a signature present, that the county is not supposed to set the ballot aside based on what they think about the content of the handwriting. And that was what was in effect for November 2020. You know, who knows what's in the future? Who knows?
Now that absolutely makes no sense, because that is the only thing that you can verify by mail-in ballots, if that's an accurate ballot. Listen, when I see some of the things that happen on other states and our state, because you were not allowed to vote after the election. You had plenty of time to cast your ballot prior, okay? I want to get back to 70% believe that our election is in danger, that there's no integrity. And especially when you're doing voting for the President of the United States, okay? Texas challenged, they lost, obviously, but I understand why they challenged and 20 other states did. Because if we run it right and another state tries to cheat, when you put in same-day registration or you close down your polling stations at 10 o'clock on that night, there's a lot, whether you do or don't, the perception is there that something's going on. And we need to solve this. We need to solve this. So I'm asking our state legislators and our federal legislators to put your heads together, because the next election is not that far away. And well, never mind, I won't get political. Okay?
Yeah.
But disenfranchise voters from all parties, I think they've succeeded. And this needs to be corrected. So I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. We need to present certain things to our state legislators and federal and see what we're going to do about it prior to the next election. Or there will be so much unrest in this country that we've never seen.
2020 was a terrible election year for counties. You know, the amount of extra time my staff had to put in, you know, the kinds of phone calls and comments and everything else we had to put up with. A lot of it was Act 77. Some of it was the presidential politics. Some of it was COVID-19. But when you put it all together, it just created a really, really unpleasant election cycle. And we've all talked to state level stakeholders, our legislators, the governor's office, Department of State. We've been trying to sound the alarm that the new paradigm that Act 77 put into effect is not sustainable. I don't know how much appetite there will be for them to want to go back and do more changes. I know there's been some talk about it, but there's been so many hard feelings between the different branches of state government over how 2020 played out. You know, the challenge is going to be, can they put that aside and say, like, we've got to do something, or we're going to have exactly what you described. It's going to be another terrible presidential election cycle in a couple, or even a terrible midterm cycle in a couple of years.
Well, Forrest, this is Commissioner Maravito. When we had the discussion with you the other day and we asked you the 3 things that you would do differently with Act 77, those were more logistical challenges in terms of being able to process the paper ballot and ensure that someone hadn't voted twice. But I didn't pick up on any of those recommendations, something that cast doubt on the integrity of the election. And the reason I point this out is that finding a way to enable to have people vote by mail, which is done all over the world, by the way, is a logistical sort of challenge. But I mean, Commissioner Mateo, I hate to say it, but when you look at the polls, I'm looking at a poll right now. You know, Republicans think that it wasn't fair. 61% of independents and 92% of the Democrats say it was free and fair. So, and I can't help but believe that part of what's happening is driven by somebody who runs for office before the election telling people that if I lose, it will have been crooked.
Commissioner, with all due respect,
Yeah.
61% of independents. That means 39% just of the independents. 39%. Democrats were like 20-some percent, 27% felt that there's a problem, and the Republicans.
This particular poll.
But why? Listen, why should there be that many people, period, questioning our integrity? That's just unbelievable.
No, I know, I agree with you, but I'm not sure that it's. Look, I can tell you that someone is a terrible person and has robbed a bank, and I can tell you over and over and over again. And if I tell you that every day, at some point you're going to start to believe it. And what I'm trying to say to you is that when someone at the top of the country's leadership level, meaning President Trump, puts out every day, or not just after the election, but before the election, that it's not going to be fair if I lose, they will have stolen it. It's the big lie. Just if you open your psychology books, you can see about the big lie.
Commissioner, this is you're getting political.
Yeah, Commissioner,
This is not political.
Well, it certainly is. We could argue that the media put out a big lie for 4 years. Okay, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about improving and getting eliminating people from being disfranchised to vote. That's the key. And
yeah, but who's being disenfranchised?
We think.
If anything, the whole point of mail-in ballots was to give people voting rights.
Okay, I understand.
Who's being disenfranchised?
Would you be willing to talk with the legislators again?
I do it all the time whenever they have questions. I'm working with the CCAP Election Reform Committee. The challenge that my office has is that, the type of conversations you're having we're in the middle of all the time. The people who call in that in elections, no matter what direction you go, you're never going to make everyone happy. You can't win. We get calls from some people saying, I'm not confident that the scanner counted my ballot the way I voted it. They wish that there was a screen that would tell them how it counted their ballot. But it can't do that. But if it did do that, there'd be other people saying, well, my privacy was violated because it just put my vote up on the screen for everybody. Elections have become, so contentious, so political, so passionate that there is almost no policy that you can adopt that somebody isn't going to be upset about it, and then they're going to go on social media and carry as many people as they can with them, and then all those calls come back to the county, and you're left, people working the refs all day, every day.
Thanks, Forrest.
Well, okay, but the question I ask for you, Mr. Lehman, is this. Are the changes that you recommended, were those changes logistical in terms of, or were they going to the question of whether there was integrity in the voting?
On the face of it, they are logistical changes. However, I think if you look at the effects they might achieve, some of them could have a secondary effect of increasing voters' perception of the integrity of the process. And one example of that, I hesitate to get too far into the weeds here, but one example of that might be, steps like moving back this application deadline, trying to reduce the number of provisionals cast at precincts, because what we saw from a lot of people in the primary and again in November was they had never voted by mail before in their life. They did it because of COVID. And then if they came in November, they changed their minds and wanted to vote in person. They're having to do this thing called a provisional ballot. They'd never heard of it before. They were suspicious of it. The ballot is being taken, put into a separate envelope where it's held off to the side for 7, even 10 days after the election until we can verify that we didn't already get another ballot back from them in the mail. So if you're someone who, has voted to them what is a traditional way in every previous election, and you're suddenly doing this provisional ballot, it can make you start to feel very suspicious about what's going on. And that's not a good thing. And then you add that to, all people's encounters with this permanent mail-in status, permanent absentee status, which is also new. Some people felt like they were misled, or that the application wasn't clear about what they were doing if they requested that. And so those kinds of problems lead to people having generally less faith in the overall process, because at least this one part of the process they think, did them wrong. It didn't go the way they expected, or they didn't know what to make of it.
And Commissioner, I just want you to understand that this isn't political for me. As we look at the undercard of the ballot, we realize that 4 to 10% of those people on the Republican side that were nominated got 4 to 10% more votes than the president. So this is not about politics. This is about integrity, election integrity. And what can we do to change the perception of, I'm going to have to say, maybe, if I were to think rough numbers, 90 million people. 90 million people. That's a lot of people, my friend.
So, Commissioner, what I'm trying to say is that when we, look, I thought when we did the poll worker, it was very interesting when we did the poll worker pay. In all the communities across the country, there were people like the people in our community who are poll workers, who step up and take very seriously their job. And I think that for us to think that only in our community people have integrity and step up to the plate, that in the other communities they're crooks, we're really doing a disservice. And I guess my point is that I think that there's a lot of, it's not a question of being political. If something is said long enough about something, people can believe it. And, I'm sure that there were people in, prior elections who said that the election wasn't fair. But we got to be careful about attacking the core basis of how the country arrives at the leadership that it gets. And that's the sad part about what's happened, because I think the people in our community who were poll workers took their job very seriously. They,
Absolutely, Commissioner, absolutely. Yeah. But Google voter fraud Philadelphia and see what you find out.
I know, but I'll tell you what,
okay.
We have to be careful about casting aspersions on others and not looking in the mirror ourselves.
We do look. All right, that's good.
Okay, let's move on. Commissioner Mayor, do you have any other comments?
No.
Okay, thank you. I only have one short comment. There's a snowstorm coming, as we're all aware. It's the first storm of the year. I'd ask people to please be safe out there, drive slowly. There always seems to be more accidents in the first storm, and people are always in a hurry. So please just take the extra time to be safe. At the same time, check on your neighbor, especially if they're elderly. Make sure they're okay, and it's just good to check on everybody to make sure they stay safe. At this time, we have public comment, and we have public comment from anyone in the room. Hearing none, then we have comments online. Center for Independent Living, and their people are asking why there is no closed caption online today, which this is first I've been made aware that's not there. I will find out what happened today, and we'll get on this and find out what's going on. So apologize for that inconvenience, and we'll find out what happened today. And also John Shireman of Jersey Shore wants us to comment on the airport again, and JW Aluminum closing. As stated before, the airport is diligently working on getting a provider. They hope to have somebody after the first of the year, is what they've communicated to us. The airport will be there. It's going to remain open. They're working the best to bring a new provider in. Ask for your patience in that. And JW Aluminum, I'm not aware, I'm aware that they're closing. I don't know why they're closing. I have no comment on that, except for we're sad they're closing. We don't want to see any employer close, but I don't know the particulars of that. And it's unfortunate they are, but we'll continue to help our employers the best we can in this area, and also bringing new employers to our capability. COVID has hit everybody hard. I don't know what the purpose of why they're closing is, but I know COVID has hit everybody hard. There's businesses closing. I was on a call last night with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and one of the local businesses is a big donor to the toy drive every year and the gift drive, and they're financially not able to do that this year for those kids because they've been hit hard by COVID. And again, it's affecting everybody in so many different ways. And so we pray and ask for an end to this soon. We'll continue to assist whatever way we can, but it's just unfortunate that another business is closing their doors. Again, don't know why, Mr. Shireman, but we'll continue to do the best we can do. Any comments on that?
Yeah, just one quick comment. I think with some of the remaining COVID money, we should reach out to Pennsylvania Food Bank. We know that there's a lot of people, not just from that organization, going out trying to find food throughout the entire county. It may be something that we want to use some of those funds to give to PA Food Bank or organizations, similar organizations, food kitchens.
Good point, Commissioner. We did that earlier in the year when COVID first hit. We've been informed by American Rescue Workers as a few weeks ago. They normally do 750 meals a month. They're doing 1,000 to 1,200 a week. So you can see the increase in the area, and whatever way anyone can try to help, if they have the means to do so, please do so. And we'll look into that because I think it's a good source of the way to use the monies. Absolutely. So any other comments at this time? Hearing none, wish everybody a very enjoyable Christmas. We'll meet back right after Christmas on Tuesday, December 29th at 10 a.m. Thank you. We're adjourned.
Thanks, Forrest.
Thank you, Forrest.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
How you doing?
We got the Solomon upstairs waiting for us.
Fantastic.
How you doing? Good.
No, Jerry is.